It started like any normal Tuesday. I was trimming the hedges in the backyard, earbuds in, podcast playing, some guy rambling about stoicism and how real peace comes from within. I remember thinking, easy to say when your world isn't falling apart. Back then, I didn't know my world was falling apart. Not yet. That afternoon, I walked into the house, sweat dripping off my brow, and there she was, Hannah, my wife of 10 years, sitting on the couch with her laptop open and a glass of wine in hand. Middle of the day. That alone should have been a red flag. Early start? I asked, gesturing to the wine. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just needed a break. Break from what? She worked remotely as a content strategist. Most days, she barely got out of pajamas. But I let it go. I headed upstairs to shower, and that's when I noticed something odd. A second phone charger plugged in next to her nightstand. Nothing wild. Maybe she bought a new charger for her work phone. Except, she didn't have a work phone. I chalked it up to forgetfulness. Mine or hers. It didn't feel big yet. That night, we had dinner together. Ordered Thai. Watched a rom-com she picked, some story where the couple ends up finding each other again despite lies and infidelity. The irony didn't hit me then. I laughed in the right places. Held her hand during the last scene. Told her I loved her before bed. She said it back, but softer than usual. Like someone repeating lines from a script they hadn't rehearsed. The next morning, I found the phone. Not a charger. The phone. It was tucked into her gym bag, wrapped inside a spare sports bra like a dead secret. It wasn't locked. Just screened down, almost like it was daring me to look. So I did. It was an old Samsung. The kind you'd pick up at a gas station if you didn't want to be tracked. I knew what it meant before I saw anything. But the messages confirmed it. Can't wait to see you again. That thing you did in the steam room? Still thinking about it. Your trouble. I like that. No names. Just emojis. A few pictures. None with faces, but I didn't need to see hers. I knew her handwriting, her voice, her legs better than she thought. And now I knew her lies. I sat on the edge of the bed for maybe 30 minutes. No anger. Not yet. Just this weird, hollow echo in my chest like someone had shut off the sound in my life. When she came upstairs, I'd already put the phone back. She kissed me on the cheek and said she was heading to yoga. I smiled. Said nothing. I watched her walk out the door and realized the saddest part. I wasn't surprised. It wasn't the first time I had felt that shift, the subtle way someone checks out of a relationship without leaving the house. She'd been drifting for months. Less laughter, more silence. Her phone always face down. Just tired became her default reply to everything. But seeing it laid out in messages, real, raw, changed something in me. Not broken. Not shattered. Just aware. I didn't rage. I didn't throw her clothes out the window. Instead, I made a plan. Because when you've been the solid one your whole life, the one people rely on, you learn how to hold the weight, and how to move quietly when the ground starts to crack. That evening I cooked dinner. Not out of habit, out of calculation. She came home around 6, hair damp from the shower at the gym, body glowing just enough to make me wonder if she'd actually worked out, or if the workout came later, with someone else. I didn't ask. I just smiled and handed her a glass of wine. Cabernet tonight? She asked. Felt like something bold, I replied. We ate on the back deck. Sun low, crickets starting up, neighborhood kids riding bikes in the street. Everything looked normal. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't change the world around you, just how you see it. She talked about her yoga class, about how Rachel, her best friend, was going through a rough patch in her marriage. I bit my tongue so hard I could taste blood. Rachel's husband was probably just like me, loyal, boring, dependable. Dead weight. That's what these men become when women like Hannah start fantasizing about life outside the fence they built. After dinner, she showered again. That was new. She never showered twice in a day unless something, or someone, had been on her skin. While the water ran, I opened her laptop. Same password. Still sloppy. She wasn't messaging him there, but her calendar told me everything I needed to know. Private appointment. Off-site client meeting. Self-care day. Cute. She was organized in her deceit, I'd give her that. I copied everything. Synced her email to a ghost account. Installed a keystroke logger. I wasn't tech-savvy, but I knew a guy. Ethan. Old buddy from high school. Still owed me for that time I covered his car payments during a rough patch. I called him that night. Hey, I said. Hypothetically, how hard is it to mirror someone's cloud? Silence. Then, hypothetically? If it's synced to multiple devices, easy. Why? I didn't answer. I just gave him the email address. Damn, he said. You sure? I'm not sure of anything, I said, but I'm done being in the dark. The next day, I scheduled our anniversary trip as planned. A cozy A-frame cabin in the woods. No neighbors, no Wi-Fi, no distractions. Just us. She loved the idea. Said it would be good for reconnecting. I smiled. That's the plan. By Friday, I had everything, the synced messages, the audio notes she sent him, even a few not-so-subtle photos she thought were deleted. And the final cherry? A reservation she made under a different name, at the same cabin we'd booked, for the weekend after ours. She was recycling romance. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted her to feel safe. Wanted her to think the walls were solid, right before they came crashing down. You see, when a man breaks, people expect a reaction. But when he stays quiet, they should be afraid. We left on a Thursday. She wore a sundress, that one with the little yellow flowers she knew I liked. Hair braided. Sunglasses. She even hummed in the car, like a woman without secrets. It almost fooled me. Almost. The drive was 4 hours, mostly quiet. She scrolled through her phone, smirked once or twice. Texts probably. I glanced at the screen when I could. No names. Just emojis. A lightning bolt. A black heart. A flame. I wondered what emoji I'd be, if I ever made it into her new world. Probably a wrench. Something useful, not sexy. When we arrived, she was thrilled. This place is perfect, she said. Good choice. She kissed me then, deep, intentional, the kind that used to mean something. But it didn't feel like love. It felt like guilt, dressed up in affection. We unpacked. I grilled steaks that night. She poured wine. We ate by the fire pit, watching the stars. I let her talk about starting fresh. How maybe we'd lost track, but this trip could fix things. I nodded. Maybe it can. That night, she initiated. Hands on my chest. Lips on my neck. She wanted to rewrite the story. Bury the guilt with closeness. And for a moment I let her. Not because I forgave her, but because I wanted her to remember this night when everything unraveled. Morning came fast. I was up before her. Coffee in hand. I sat at the little kitchen table staring out the window, rehearsing the words. She patted in wearing my hoodie. No makeup, still sleepy. Beautiful, even then. That was the worst part, she still looked like the woman I fell in love with. Morning, she said, rubbing her eyes. Morning, I replied, calm. She reached for a mug. Sleep okay? Yeah. You? She nodded. Then sat. The silence stretched long. And finally I said it. I know. She blinked. No what? I sipped my coffee. About him. The messages. The second cabin you booked next weekend. For 3 full seconds she said nothing. Just stared at me like she'd forgotten how to breathe. Ben, she started, but I raised a hand. No need to lie. I didn't come here for a confession. Her face crumpled slightly, like a painting smeared by rain. She opened her mouth, closed it again. Then, how long? A while. Why didn't you say anything? I looked at her then, steady. Because I wanted to see who you were when you thought I didn't know. She dropped her gaze. It wasn't. I didn't mean. You didn't mean to get caught, I said. That's the only part you regret. She stood suddenly, like the room was too small to hold her shame. You don't understand, she said. It was just, I thought. Exactly, I said, cutting her off. You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I'd always be here. She stared at me, eyes wet now. Real tears. Late ones? I still love you. No, I said, voice flat. You love the version of me that didn't know. That's not love. That's convenience. She sank into the chair again, small now, like a child caught stealing. I made a mistake. I shook my head slowly. Mistakes are one-time things. This was a project. She looked out the window, tears slipping quietly down her face. What happens now? She asked, voice barely a whisper. I stood, pulled an envelope from my backpack. Dropped it on the table. She stared at it like it might explode. What is it? Proof, I said. Screenshots. Dates. The name of the man. The Airbnb listing. Your texts. She didn't touch it. And one more thing, I added. A video. Her eyes darted to mine. What video? The one I made last night. While you slept. Me. Talking to the camera. Explaining why I'm leaving. What you did. Everything. It'll go to our friends, your family, your work, unless you agree to the divorce terms. Quietly. No lawyers. No drama. Just you walking away? You recorded me? She asked, voice rising. No, I said calmly. I recorded me. You've done enough talking already. She didn't speak for a long time. Just stared at that envelope like it might grow teeth. Part of me hoped she'd open it. Face it. Own it. But Hannah was always the type who preferred illusions over truth, as long as the illusion felt warm. You can't do this, she whispered finally. I can, I said. And I already did. Her lip trembled. You're threatening me. No, I said. I'm offering you a way out. With dignity. She stood up again. So that's it? You play the victim and I just disappear? I laughed. Not bitter. Just tired. Hannah, you disappeared months ago. Your body stayed, sure. But you? You were gone the moment you chose him over a conversation. She clenched her jaw. You don't know what it was like living with you. You stopped caring. You were always working, always quiet, always. Safe? I asked. Stable? Boring? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That's the part that kills me, I said, walking to the window. That I thought being consistent was a good thing. That coming home, paying bills, fixing the sink, that it meant something. Turns out you wanted fireworks. Not foundation. People grow apart, she said flatly. People also grow up, I replied. Silence again. The kind that fills your lungs and presses behind your eyes. She sat back down, folding her hands like she was trying to remember how to pray. What do you want, Ben? I turned back toward her. A clean break. I emailed you the documents. You signed them, we filed jointly. No fighting, no assets war. I walk away. You keep your image. And if I don't? I met her eyes. Then the story gets told. And I've got screenshots, timestamps, security footage, and a voice recording of you talking to him. You know how social media loves a good betrayal story, right? Her face went pale. You wouldn't. You already bet that I wouldn't. And look where that got us. She stood again, pacing now. I could see the panic setting in. Not because she loved me. Not because she wanted to fix us. But because she finally realized the price of playing both sides. This is blackmail, she muttered. No, I said quietly. This is closure. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for the decency you didn't give me, the truth, clean and honest. Her voice dropped. And the video? I leaned forward. The second the papers are filed, it's deleted. I don't want to ruin your life. Just not interested in carrying your lie anymore. She looked at the envelope again. Picked it up this time. Hand shaking. You really planned all this? She said, almost in awe. No, I said. You planned it. I just adapted. She didn't cry. Not then. Maybe she was too stunned. Maybe part of her had always known this moment would come. She sat, opened the envelope, and began to read. I watched her as she scanned the pages, her face folding inwards, like she was watching a version of herself she didn't recognize. Maybe she finally saw what I'd seen for months: the distance, the detachment, the quiet erasure of a marriage built on trust that she'd spent a year slowly burning down. I don't know what to say, she said finally. You already said enough, I replied. Now I want action. I'll think about it. No, I said. You have 48 hours. After that I press play. She nodded. No defiance. No grand speech. Just resignation. Funny thing about betrayals, people always think they're the ones holding the gun. But the real danger is the man who smiles after you shoot, and still walks toward you. I left the cabin early. She was still asleep when I packed my bag, or pretending to be. Either way, I didn't say goodbye. Just closed the door quietly behind me and walked out into the cold mountain air. I didn't look back. 4 hours later I was back in town, truck covered in pine dust and my head strangely clear. It's funny, the end of a marriage doesn't sound like anything. No explosion, no applause. Just silence. Like someone pulled the cord on a machine that had been running too long. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove straight to a storage unit I'd rented 2 days before we left. I'd already moved the important stuff, documents, tools, a few family photos she hadn't bothered to notice were gone. My clothes were already packed in duffel bags. All I had to do was grab my things from the motel and check into the apartment above the garage I'd leased. The place wasn't fancy. 1 bedroom. Faded linoleum. Smelled like dust and old paint. But it was mine. Quiet. Clean. Honest. That night, I cooked pasta on a gas burner, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat on a camping chair in the middle of my bare kitchen like a man who'd just been paroled. First meal of freedom. Hannah texted me once. We should talk. I left it unread. Later that night, Ethan called. He'd seen her social profiles go private, the usual digital retreat. Her followers noticed. Questions started circling. She's trying to get ahead of the story, he said. Let her, I replied. I'm already gone. The next day, I called my lawyer. Told him to expect signed papers soon. He laughed. You played it clean, Ben. That's rare. I didn't want revenge, I said. I just wanted out with my soul intact. We met for coffee later that week. He handed me a folder. Inside were printouts, divorce finalized pending signature, assets listed, accounts split. I'd get the house, the car, and full control of my business. She'd walk with her personal accounts, some furniture, and her spotless public record, assuming she kept quiet. You're letting her off easy, my lawyer said. I'm not interested in dragging her through the mud, I said. I just want to stop cleaning up after it. Later that afternoon, I got a call from someone unexpected, Rachel. Yes, that Rachel. Hannah's best friend. The one who listened to all her stories, laughed at her jokes, and probably knew more about her affairs than I ever would. Then, she said, her voice low, I didn't know how to reach you. You just did. She paused. She told me everything. Or tried to. I didn't say anything. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I should have said something. Should have stepped in. You didn't owe me anything. I think I did, she replied. You were always decent to her. Better than most would have been. I didn't respond. I wasn't looking for closure from her. But I appreciated the call, if only because it reminded me how far I'd come. The people still stuck in Hannah's orbit were just beginning to feel the fallout. I'd already stepped off the ride. That weekend, I'd bought a table at a second-hand shop. Real wood. Scratched but solid. I carried it upstairs by myself, arms shaking, back sore. But when I set it down, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not for escaping. For rebuilding. The first Saturday in my new place, I went to the farmer's market. Didn't plan to. Just woke up early, the kind of early that doesn't come with alarms, just a body that's finally sleeping without grinding its teeth. It was brisk, the air still holding that end of summer chill. I walked slow. Let myself browse. No rush. No schedule. For the first time in a long time, no one was waiting for me. I bought honey. Fresh bread. A jar of pickled garlic I probably wouldn't eat. And then I saw her. Standing at a flower stand in a denim jacket and boots, holding a bouquet of sunflowers like it was nothing, like we hadn't once spent a whole semester stealing glances across lecture halls. Lena. We hadn't seen each other in over a decade. College friends, not close exactly, but the kind of person you remember. She had this way of leaning in when she laughed, like she meant it. She turned. Saw me. Paused. Then? I smiled. Hey. She blinked. Wow. You look different. Older? She laughed. Better, actually. Stronger. Farmers' markets will do that to you. We ended up sitting at a nearby bench, coffee in hand, bread between us. We talked about old professors, mutual friends we lost track of, the usual small talk with a big undercurrent. I didn't bring up Hannah. She didn't ask? But Lena did say something that stuck. You seem calm. Like a guy who's been through a storm and doesn't mind the wind anymore. I nodded. You hit anything like that lately? She looked down, twisting her coffee cup. Divorced. 3 years now. I gave a small nod. It sucks. Yeah, she said, smiling faintly. Until it doesn't. We exchanged numbers. Nothing serious. Just in case, she said. Just in case, I agreed. I didn't think about her much that day. I just went home, made a sandwich, and fixed the loose hinge on the bathroom door. But sometime around 9 p.m., when the apartment was quiet and my phone buzzed with her name, I realized something strange. I smiled. It wasn't a big smile. Not romantic. Not hopeful. Just alive. Her message said, I forgot how nice it is talking to someone who actually listens. I replied, I forgot how nice it is to be heard. No emojis. No overthinking. Just two people who knew what broken felt like, and maybe, just maybe, didn't feel broken anymore. I didn't know where it would go. But I did know one thing for sure, this time, I wasn't bringing baggage. I was bringing a toolbox. And that made all the difference. The divorce finalized quietly. No press. No scandal. No viral videos. Just 2 signatures, a notary, and a silence that finally made sense. Hannah never fought it. Whether it was guilt, fear, or exhaustion, I never asked. She moved out of the house within a week. Left behind her side of the closet, half a set of wine glasses, and a note that said, "I'm sorry for who I became." I didn't respond. What do you even say to that? Some days I missed her. Not the version she became, the one with locked phones and fake smiles, but the version from the early years. The one who laughed in her sleep and danced while brushing her teeth. The one who made Sunday morning coffee feel like church. But nostalgia's a liar, and I knew better than to trust it. The house took time to feel like mine again. I changed the paint. Tore out the carpet. Replaced the couch we picked together with one I bought from a guy named Daryl on Facebook Marketplace. Smelled like pine and tobacco, but it was sturdy. Funny thing, when you're the only one left in the house, you hear things differently. The creak in the hallway isn't spooky. It's honest. It's just the floor saying, "Still here." Lena and I texted sometimes. Coffee twice. A walk near the lake. Nothing rushed. Nothing with expectations. We didn't talk about our exes. We talked about books, the weirdness of online dating, and how overpriced eggs had gotten. Once she asked me, "Do you think you'll ever trust someone again?" I told her the truth. Not easily. But I'm willing to try. That was enough for her. That was enough for me. One morning, I found myself standing in the kitchen, frying eggs, when it hit me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't watching the door. I wasn't checking phones. I wasn't planning revenge or writing speeches in my head. I was just cooking breakfast in a house I had rebuilt, by hand, by heart, by hard decisions. And that was the real win. Not the escape. Not the quiet exit. But the man I got to be on the other side. See, betrayal didn't make me bitter. It made me honest. With myself. With what I need. With what I won't accept ever again. I still wear my wedding ring sometimes. Not as a sign of grief, but as a reminder of what I survived. Of what I gave. Of what I'll never settle for again. And yeah, maybe someday I'll give that ring to someone new. Not as a promise, but as a truth.